You're listening to the No Bullshit Vegan Podcast, episode 188. Chef Supreme Dow is on the show to discuss his recent vegan meal-related world record and the incredible work he does serving meals to LA's unhoused community.
Welcome to the No Bullshit Vegan Podcast, myth-busting and evidence-based advice to help you kick butt with your health and fitness on a vegan diet. Here's your host, Karina Inkster.
Hey, welcome to the show. I'm Karina, your go-to no BS vegan fitness and nutrition coach. Welcome to the first episode of 2025. If you celebrated during the last few weeks, happy holidays. And thank you for tuning into the show, supporting my work, and helping me and my team to spread the no BS vegan intel far and wide for another successful year. Most of my family was out of town, so my Christmas was pretty quiet, but my husband and I are heading to Vancouver soon to catch up with family and friends there. And of course, I'm looking forward to enjoying all the amazing vegan food the city has to offer. That is one of the only things I miss living in a small town. And it's also going to be a great way to celebrate my 22nd vegan anniversary, which was on January 1st. Now, speaking of celebrating, Coach Zoe and I are sending out huge kudos to our awesome client, Dana, who recently wrapped up her coaching with us and is off to continue her strength training adventure on her own. Here's the Google review Dana wrote. Coach Karina and Coach Zoe are amazing. They're so knowledgeable, understanding, patient, and supportive. One of the things that I loved most about working with them was that they were very aware of how harmful diet and exercise culture can be, and they were mindful of addressing that when we spoke. Plus, it was really nice to have coaches who are also vegan and know what they're talking about when it comes to nutrition on plant-based diets. I would highly recommend them and their programs. Well, thank you so much, Dana, and thank you for being such an amazing part of our community, and we wish you all the best as you continue kicking ass on your own. If you, dear listener, are thinking about leveling up your strength training, body composition, plant-based nutrition, or vegan superpowers in general, apply now for one of our coaching spots. Go to karinainkster.com/coaching. That's karinainkster.com/coaching. Introducing my guest today, Chef Supreme Dow, a former celebrity chef who left the glitz and glamour to fulfill his mission to tackle food security in the unhoused community in LA. His 10K Meals Across LA initiative aims to serve 100,000 vegan meals to the unhoused in LA over the next decade through his nonprofit, the Harvest Academy. So that's an average of 10,000 meals per year for 10 years. He recently made headlines by setting a Guinness World Record, serving 1,008 vegan meals in just 37 minutes. He embodies what it means to lean into compassion and selflessness for the greater good of the community. Here's our discussion. Hello, Chef Supreme. Thank you so much for speaking with me today.
How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to hear about all the amazing things you do, the world record that you have, the initiatives that you've started. It's absolutely incredible. But very first thing first, what is your vegan story? How did you come to veganism? Was it one event, like a catalyst? Was it a long process? What was that like for you?
So it came about for me before I was even here. So I have an uncle back in Philadelphia in the 70s. He was vegan, but he was vegan when it
wow.
was called vegetarian.
Right.
So it was back then. He introduced it to my dad. And as I was just growing as a child my whole life, it was just kind of something that was introduced to us since birth. So personally, my journey has always, like, I've been the kid at 5 years old reading the labels. So that's always been my life, knowing what's in stuff, knowing what red dye 40 is, or different things or different words for animal gelatin, or like this. So this kind of been my life story my whole life, essentially.
Wow. And so did that come from like a health perspective back in the 70s? Was it more of an ethical thing for your uncle in particular?
It was more so like a cultural thing.
Ah.
It was, to be completely candid, it was him striving to get back to his roots and our roots and strive not to kind of indulge in what was going on, because he kind of saw how things were going with food, how the food process was going, the industrialism of animals, so on and so forth. So for him, it was about just doing the right thing, doing a universally innate thing, if you will, or just having that divine connection with the earth, like the way it's supposed to be. Like plants are here for us, animals are here with us.
Oh, I love that.
You know
That's
what I mean?
powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
If only more people could understand that, hey?
Yeah, like you shouldn't have to take life to maintain life.
Mm-hmm.
You should be able to give life while maintaining life.
Love that. That's very powerful. Well, thank you for sharing. I'm always interested in what people's backgrounds are and how they came to eat this way. And was it a shift later in life? Was it how they grew up? Everyone has amazing
Right.
stories. So I'm very interested in all those backgrounds.
No, no.
So tell me a little bit about what you do. You have a Guinness World Record for serving 1,008 vegan meals in just over half an hour. I think it was 37 minutes.
Correct.
That's insane. That's 27, more than 27 meals per minute. So we're looking at like every 2 seconds, basically.
Right. And we end up doing 1,700 within an hour.
Oh my God.
So yeah, I'm still waiting to get that official record, but pretty much what we did was the goal was there was no record. How many people could you feed within an hour? And there was no Guinness Book of World Record for us, like community feed. So it had to be Meals on Wheels style. So we were going door to door. And it was a thing where though I was just looking to have a huge impact, but also make a huge impact in the sense of like introducing a whole community to a way of life or a quality of life that they wouldn't normally be accustomed to or used to. So we made traditional, like we made Spanish rice, meatloaf, all things they can associate with, but it was 100% plant-based. We had chocolate chip cookies,
Oh man.
100% plant-based. The cookies were gluten-free and like nut-free, so they were extremely high vibrational. And we just wanted to people love food. And it's this misconception that it's a lot of different misconceptions about vegan food.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to kill all those misconceptions in one fell swoop, if you will. I went into a predominantly Hispanic community. It was in East LA, Boyle Heights. We did it on Juneteenth.
Mm.
We had all people of all walks of life volunteering, and the community was out, the kids were out. So my goal was to kill 90 different stereotypes or like just misconceptions about different things at once.
That's so brilliant. So you mentioned Meals on Wheels style. So are you dropping these off at certain locations, or is it like a lineup of people who are coming through?
No, so we pretty much it's a housing project in East LA,
Got it.
and we had these huge carts. We had amazing volunteers, and we were dropping off meals door to door. So we had 1,700 doors in a like 4 block by 6 block radius, just out there, just
Wow.
dropping them, dropping them, dropping them.
Yeah. And so that's the same as the first one where you did 1,000, just over 1,000, kind of the same.
Yeah, it was all the same thing.
Got it.
So we did the first 37 minutes. We did 1,000, but there were more people at the community, so we had to feed everybody. So
Mm-hmm.
within that hour span, we ended up hitting the number of 1,700.
That's brilliant. So where does the funding for a project like this come from?
I have amazing food sponsor Beyond Me. So I work with them. I have a business relationship with them.
Mm-hmm.
I got a grant for it as well. So the community rallied behind me. The community saw the work that I put in the previous years. They all had something that they felt like they connect with. I had Plant Based Treaty be a part of it. Gen V was a part of it. Vegans of LA with Gwen Hunter was a part of it. So it was Unchained TV, Jane. Like it was
Wow.
so many amazing people who were like pillars in the community. We all just kind of came together to help my dream just come to fruition.
That's brilliant. So a true community effort that you were leading.
1,000. The whole is always greater than the sum of its parts.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You are exemplifying that. You're like the poster guy for this concept, basically. That's awesome. So does this tie in with the work that you're doing now? You have this long-term mission of serving 100,000 really nutrient-dense vegan meals to LA's unhoused community. I'm assuming, and this is over the next decade, I think. So I'm assuming
Yeah.
that kind of ties into the work that you've been doing so far.
Right. So we had one of our initiatives, 10,000 meals across LA, where we strive to get out at least 1,000 to 1,200 meals a week if it's working with different organizations. We have our Vegans for Veteran program, where every Monday we feed about 150 veterans. We have another thing called Our Cafe, where we opened up a cafe at the West LA VA Hospital.
Mm.
1 week in a month, they get free vegan lunch and dinner. play games, spades, checkers, chess, dominoes, Uno, that kind of thing. So all those do tie in. The objective is to get high quality, high vibrational meals to those who need it the most. So our underserved communities, unhoused
Hmm.
communities, disabled veterans, elders, and children.
That is amazing. I'm probably going to use that word like 56 times in our
All love.
conversation. That's very cool. So, like in all of these initiatives, right? So you're giving out these amazing vegan meals. They're all really nutritious, they're delicious. What kind of feedback do you get on the vegan aspect? Are people surprised? Do they care? Do they push back? Like, what's the reaction that you get on the fact that this is 100% plant-based food?
The best example I can give for that is, so I was doing a feed. We fed about 350 people. It was myself, the Harvest Academy, and Gen V, Generation V. And
Mhm.
that was their first time going out with me being on Skid Row in Los Angeles. And one of the first questions that we got from an unhoused person was, are these vegan? Because they were so used to me always being there and always providing meals. So if they were not vegan, then he wasn't going to eat it.
Wow.
So they clearly understand the value of high quality meals. And not to be funny, they have smartphones as well.
Mhm.
So they get the same, they have, in a sense, they know the same things that we know. They still have the direct access. You know what I mean? It's like having the key to the door, but you have no way to get to the door. They
Mhm.
have the key, there's no bridge to the door. I created that bridge so they can use that key to open that door and then walk through, if you will.
Mhm. Interesting. So what you're doing with the Harvest Academy Club is essentially this project, right? That's like the umbrella for serving these 100,000 meals.
Yes.
But again, I'm assuming that this is very team focused, very volunteer driven. Is that something that folks can get involved in?
Yeah, 1000%. So we're always looking for if you have a desire, destiny, or to give back or want to be a part, we're always looking for people who want to help in the kitchen,
Mm.
want to help give out meals. More importantly, if you know a community that you feel that can be impacted, let's go into that community. The best way to volunteer is to find a space or a place where you live or that where people are impacted, and let's get them meals because we can feed 100,000 meals to the same people, which will be amazing. But if we can literally feed 100,000 people,
Mhm.
that's something completely different.
Absolutely. Yep. Interesting. So your past, you're an army veteran.
Correct.
So, you did mention veterans as one of the populations that you focus on. Let's talk about that for a sec. So, presumably, you were vegan in the army. What was that like?
It was easy because I was raised a certain way. So what my father and my parents instilled in me couldn't be broken elsewhere because I had a clear understanding of what the truth was. Like I knew at 16, 17, 18 years old what and how preventable diseases come about through diet.
Mhm.
Because I had uncles who were like obsessive about that kind of stuff, or people around me who literally that they were obsessed about those kinds of different things. So I clearly understood those things. So I never felt like I was missing out on anything. I actually tried to help my contemporaries eat healthier because I understood in times of battle, you got to be your highest form of self. And you need your mind, your body, and your soul. So it wasn't really difficult. I wouldn't say the most difficult part about was being vegan was like working in restaurants
Mm.
because I worked at really, really high end, high quality restaurants. I've been a chef since I was 16. So that's like my passion is cooking. That's what I do. I'm a chef first.
Mhm.
So that's what became difficult because I'm all about like fair exchange, there's no robbery, and we all have the right to do what we choose without judgment. As long as we didn't hurt nobody, I can respect that. And some things come with the territory. So I was okay sometime back working in high quality restaurants. There's a give and a take. I knew by me being there, I can bring an element that would not be there already,
Mhm.
and then it makes space for people like myself. When I realized 10 years ago they had no interest in that, 10 years ago, the concept of being vegan, even healthy food was like it's a misconception. I worked at restaurants where they put bacon fat in the grits or in the mac and cheese. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But wouldn't put that on the
totally.
menu.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So that's when I knew it was time for me to go.
Interesting. Okay. But you've done some pretty high level, like celebrity chef kind of gigs, right? So that wasn't all vegan, though, was it at the time?
See, no, see, my philosophy is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Mm.
So I can scream from the rooftop, but you got to eat vegan. But if I'm not willing to meet you where you are to get you over here to where I am, then it won't work. And an example of that was I did a Grammy nomination party
Okay.
for a documentary, right? They wanted me to cater it. So he sent me the menu in like bold letters. He's like, bro, we need that vegan mac and cheese and the vegan wings.
Okay.
For me, that's a win for the vegan culture. And this was 5 years ago. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's a
Mm-hmm.
huge win. But if I wasn't willing to meet him where he was, that never would have happened. And I introduced 200 people to vegan food who had no clue even what it was.
That's a huge win.
Some may see that as like a compromise of my morality.
Well, I suppose in a way you could make that argument, yeah. But if you think about it also, you're looking at it as either the least worst option or the most change that you can get from one action.
I'm making it about me. See, it's not about me, it's about the movement. Like, how can, if we want to have the world vegan by 2050, 2030, what's the most effective, efficient, and safe way to get there?
Mm-hmm.
Not most radical, not what works for you, but what will actually get us to that point? And if you're not willing to sacrifice to get there, then you'll never get there. Anybody who has achieved greatness or anything, they had to sacrifice in order to get
Mm-hmm.
there. You know what I mean?
Yep, that's a good point. So how do you communicate, if at all, with like what I would call die-hard vegans who are basically veganism is the only answer, never compromise. The fact that you're cooking non-vegan food means you're not doing veganism properly. Like I'm not saying this is what I believe
No, I
because I
got you.
don't.
I got you. I got you.
But like how do you respond to that?
Yo, God loves you. God loves you. Your perception of me is a reflection of you.
Mm,
Like God loves you. Like it's all, and you had to write that's your opinion. You have the, I respect it. And the greatest form of love is understanding.
mm,
So if you're coming from a place of judgment and not understanding, then I devalue what you have to say. Like meaning when I say devalue it, none of it sticks. I'll leave it
mhm,
where it was. You have the right to
right.
say it. I'm glad you got it. Do you feel better now? Can we like it's cool because like we can agree to disagree. We're adults.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? But like it's okay. That's human nature. Like that's what those kind of dialogues are what build character, build growth, build substance, and it builds a foundation. Difference of opinions that come together usually find a middle ground or a common ground if you're communicating to build and not destroy.
Yes. This reminds me of a conversation I just had yesterday online with someone who got into an argument with a family member about kind of this related thing. Like, okay, so I'm having an event that has vegans and non vegans at it. The non vegans feel like I'm pushing veganism on them by having a completely vegan event, the usual bullshit that we get, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think this concept that you're talking about, understanding, potentially just not letting things stick, I think that's kind of what you mean by devaluing what someone is saying, not necessarily that you are putting them down, but it's rolling off you. It's just like, nope, it's not sticking. Let's move on. I'm going to do my thing. You do your thing. That's cool.
Right.
So it kind of reminds me of this idea of meeting people where people are at, where they're at right now, which is what you've mentioned, and then maybe taking it a little step further, right? Like next little, hey, how about you try these vegan wings? They're amazing. Have you had them before? Just try one.
If you get 1% better every day in a year, you'll be 365% better.
That's a good point.
If you try to be 100% better every day, you'll be the same person you were next year.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's too, you get what I'm saying? It's just, and also I was raised a little bit different. The person who made me this vegan revolutionary, the person who gave me everything I am, he actually eats turkey and cheese sandwiches and like he do his thing. Like so the person who made me this great, my grandparents weren't vegan.
Mm.
So like they didn't judge us. I was groomed in a place of love and understanding. Like I don't have to agree with you to understand. The greatest form of love is understanding.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to agree with you to understand how you got to that point so we can still move forward amicably.
Mm-hmm. So here's something. I just had a conversation with my sister who has a little 2.5-year-old, and they're raising him plant based. I don't think like fully vegan, but definitely no meat. So vegetarian at least. Of course, I'm long term vegan. I mean, I've been vegan for 22 years. My husband's vegan. My whole household is vegan. But my sister was wondering, like, hey, how do you talk to a small child when they start noticing, oh, my friend is eating this thing called beef jerky? Why don't we eat that? Or, hey, my friend is eating this chicken nugget. Why don't we eat that? And it's like there's not quite a connection of what the food is yet, I don't think. But
Right, right.
how would you approach this for really young kids?
So it's all a part of the raising them process, like teaching them about individuality.
Hmm.
In some context, comparison to thief of joy. and teaching them what goes on in this household is different from that household. Every person is different.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's a kid, you can use animals. Like look at the lion and look at the cheetah.
Mm-hmm.
They're both cats, but they're different cats. They live different places. They eat different things, but they're still functional. They're still and speak about cultures, and it's all about just teaching them who they are as individuals
Mm-hmm.
and teaching your home's culture and not the outside world's culture. If that makes sense. Every household has their own culture, has their own,
Mm-hmm.
and it's about embracing that. And as long as you ignite that and embrace that, when that child goes out into the world, they still may ask questions, but they have a clear understanding and more of balance of what they do. Okay, why do you do this? Okay, I'm not going to do it, but I'm still curious to know why.
I think that's mostly what it is. Yeah, it's curiosity, isn't it?
And you have to allow people to be people, meaning allow children to be children. If they want to try and come back with their tummy all messed up, you talk them through it. You don't reprimand them for making a mistake or just trying something different or like exercising their ability to see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just allowing them to work the process, but educating them in a stern but likable way, if that makes sense, and
Totally.
attainable. Like my dad used to always say, no, I don't care what you're doing or what kind of career you have. If you can't explain it to a 5-year-old, then you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good rule. Is that kind of the environment that you were raised in then? So, like curiosity, an understanding that everyone and even every household has its own culture. I'm sure this all applies to your own experience.
No, it does. It was a little bit more radical, but it was that. Because my dad he was very like, but it was all about understanding and allowing people to live without judgment. The biggest thing I got in my household was we got the answers why. We got that. We got to ask. We could ask why, and then my dad would literally sit us down and tell us why. Like we regret asking why after a while. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what, bro? I'm just let life lead me and I'm gonna see.
Hmm.
Because my father, you ask a question like knowledge is like, observing. Wisdom is applied knowledge. If you put those two together, now you have a clear understanding or a clear mental picture of what's going on.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I love that. So, in your experience being a chef, being in the world of food that may or may not be vegan, these are for like celebrities, right? So, basically, a celebrity chef doing private functions, I assume, doing catering, all this kind of stuff.
Right.
What are some of the stories that come to mind when you think about your position as a vegan in that world?
It was easy for me. My story was I got to LA and within 2 months, I was a celebrity chef.
That's insane.
That's my story. I'm
Okay.
not, I was literally working for celebrities and then going back to a hostel in Koreatown.
Wow.
So that was my story. I was prepared for this. I worked up to this point. Like I told my dad I was going to do this 20 years from now, so I kind of worked up to it. And working in high-end restaurants and then the little things like that, I was fortunate too. So when I first got to LA, I got to work at a grocery store called Erewhon.
Oh, yeah.
It's a really, really high-end. All the celebrities, Ludacris, everybody goes there. So I got to experience LA and what the 1% of LA in a personal setting. And because I was the lead raw and vegan chef for the whole company, I got to just create dishes. So every time a celebrity would come in, I create a vegan raw dish for them. So I got to see what they liked, got to comfortable with that whole environment. And I know food people just like food. So it was actually an extremely easy transition. And because I know people like food and most people don't even know what they're eating, they think they know, 90% of my events catering would be vegan. Like literally 90% would be all vegan. They didn't know the greens were vegan and the mac and cheese and the cornbread. 90%, and I would tell them afterwards. You know what I mean?
And so, how did it go at that point when they find out eventually?
People love good food. They don't care.
Hmm. That's my experience too.
And they actually respect that I care about them enough to give them good quality, healthy food. Very rarely have I got somebody who was mad that this vegan food was so good.
I know.
Like, and if I did, like, what, Godspeed, bro. Everybody can't be happy.
It's true. Well, I've had two experiences. When I'm not doing fitness coaching and podcasting and that whole world, I'm in the music world. So I perform and I
Okay.
teach. And when we have concerts lately, they've been like gala fundraisers for the local music academy, and they all involve some level of food.
Right.
So there's the fancy dessert table and the little savory, bites that you can take to your table and whatever. So interestingly, the last two events that we did at the Music Academy were catered by a vegan company. Shout out to Kaylin, by the way, who's on our team helping with the podcast, but also runs a vegan bakery company here in my town.
Uh-huh.
So the first time we did this, no one had any idea that 100% of the food they were eating was vegan. We didn't even mention it.
Right.
It came out after the fact. Like we had a concert, maybe 120 people were there.
Right.
Amazing desserts, all like beautifully displayed. Everyone loved them. No one had any idea. It came out afterwards. The second time, I made a point of telling the audience, hey, by the way, 100% of everything you're eating at this gala is vegan. And I mean, most folks already know that I'm vegan. So if they know me, they're like, oh,
Right.
yeah, it's the vegan accordion girl, whatever. But a lot of people didn't. And you could tell that they were like, wait, hold on a second. This apple turnover is vegan? Like,
It,
what? Their mind was blown. There's basically smoke coming out of
confused.
their ears at that point.
Exactly. Exactly. That's the best feeling ever.
It really is. And I feel like really amazing food is not just a talking point for veganism for some of these people, but like you said, it's busting about 900 stereotypes all at the same time.
It's a learning moment now. Now we got teachable moments, and we can take it from where you are to where you need to be. Because now everything you thought to be true is bunk. So now you have to rebuild. It's like to figure out what's really going on.
Mhm.
And that's where the evolution comes. And that's how we get somebody who's been 100% meat eater their whole life to be 60% vegan. And in my eyes, if we can have 85% of the world be at least 85% vegan, that's 100% vegan. That's a win.
Mhm. Yeah. So again, you have the vegan purists who are like, well, you have to be 100% or nothing. But really, if you look at what would make the biggest difference for the environment, for animals, for other humans on the planet, it's exactly what you just said.
I'm gonna use that same philosophy in something else to see how it matches up.
Okay.
That's like saying somebody can't be 100% Christian. Like
Right.
you have to be 100% Christian to be Christian. Like, no, you don't. Like you got to be working your process. You gonna tell me, like, and I respect the purists as long as they're striving to keep it pure. But like we have to get to that point. You know what I mean? So, and again, it's a very slippery slope. But again, it's the whole is always greater than some of its parts. And
Mhm.
if 85% are all going the right way, it's 100% chance 100% of the population will be okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, and I think in a way, some of the so-called purists, I'm kind of just randomly using that term, but you know what I mean. In a lot of ways, they're alienating folks who are nowhere near that decision yet. And they're making those people believe, oh, well, I either have to do 100% or there's no point.
Yeah.
And that's not helping it either.
You can't gatekeep culture.
Right.
You can't gatekeep a universal right. You can't gatekeep a universal like entity. Like you can't you can try, but trying is a state of failure. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You can't gate something that's innately ours. Every human being has to find their way to it. But you can't gatekeep something. You can't tell me how to utilize my universal connection
Hmm.
or how to embrace my universal because it's my universal connection. As long as I'm embracing it, that means I'm doing the right thing for myself and for the whole.
Hmm. That's a great way of putting it. I think that's a lot more palatable, for lack of a better term, to people who are not on that spectrum at all. They're going to be
Right.
curious. They're going to be interested. They're going to ask questions versus being completely shut off to the idea.
Exactly. It gives the impression you can't fall off the wagon or you can't make mistakes or you can't go back and then come back. You
Yep.
can't try it now and then come back 3 years later. You know what I mean? Like progress is a process. Nothing has ever happened overnight, but everything can be destroyed in one.
Ah, that's a good point. Yes, it can. There's a lot of parallels to like the world of fitness, the world of learning any sort of long term skill. It's the same concept, right? Like this all or nothing belief that a lot of people have.
Right. Right.
It's really sabotaging doing new things, learning new skills, moving forward in life. It doesn't have to be that way.
It's the reason why the tortoise always run the race. Slow and steady. He ran his race. He knew his process. He didn't let anybody and he always won. The hare was the one. He was the purist. He had speed, looking good. He lost. They looked good losing.
But he still lost. It's the moral of the story.
My point exactly. You lost, baby. You came in second. That means you're first person to lose.
That's right. Well, when you put it that way.
I'm just joking.
I
But
know.
not something it's like this. When you run your race, I promise you, you'll get to you. Everybody's end goal is different. Everybody's finish line is different. But we all got the same finish line. As long as you run your race, and you get to your finish line.
Mhm.
You run somebody else races, get somebody else finish line. If you don't know the race you're running, you'll never get to the finish line.
That's a fair point. That could be applied to life itself, not even just veganism.
Fair enough.
Love that. So, what's next for you? You're working on the project 100,000 meals. What else is on the agenda? for Chef?
So this Saturday, I'm partnered with an amazing coffee shop in my neighborhood, and we're going to do a community coffee day, a pay it forward day. I'm going to pay for everybody's coffee who comes in that day, their coffee and their drinks, and in hopes that they want to contribute to the nonprofit, help us feed some people in the community. So I want to bring the community in to help the community within. So I'm going to support the local coffee shop, who's going to support me. I'm going to support all of the community, and they go, so like, we're going to do that.
Cool.
Every Monday, we're at the West LA VA Hospital. There's some newly housed veterans. We feed about 120 of those veterans every Monday, good vegan meals. So we do that every Monday. We have something special coming on the 20th where we're going to do some like pop-up feeds. We're going to have about 5 different places and just get some people some food. But other than that, we're just feeding people right now. I just started an amazing partnership with Beyond Meat. We're taking it beyond the kitchen into the community.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited for that. And just feeding people high quality, good food.
That's amazing. See, I'm using the word again for the 55th time. Well, Chef, it was so great to speak with you. We're going to have show notes where people can go and look at your websites. Is the main one the Harvest Academy?
TheHarvestAcademyClub.org is my website, and the Concierge Kitchen is my Instagram.
Perfect. Amazing. Well, is there anything last minute you want to leave our listeners with?
Yes. With gratitude, optimism is sustainable.
Ooh, can you expand on that a little?
If you're grateful for what you have, you always be optimistic of what's in front of you. It's the reverse of comparison to thief of joy. With gratitude, optimism is sustainable. So always be appreciative for where you are, what you have, and what got you there. When you take that leap of faith, understand you're leaping out to everything you didn't built already. So just trust everything you didn't built before. You've already built your security net. So you're stepping out onto your own security net.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love that. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to learn from you, to speak with you, get to know your work. Much appreciated.
This has been every bit amazing. You're what they call awesome.
Well, thank
Only
you.
person cooler than you is you tomorrow.
Thanks so much.
Oh, love. Thank you.
Chef, so great to speak with you. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. Access our show notes at nobullshitvegan.com/188 to connect with Chef Supreme and support his initiative to provide 100,000 vegan meals to LA's unhoused community over the next decade. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for listening to the No Bullshit Vegan podcast at nobullshitvegan.com.